The massive ships appeared in Earth's sky without warning. They hung above major cities like giant metal moons, their shadows falling over millions of scared people. No one had seen anything like this before. The world's leaders called emergency meetings. Military forces went on high alert. Regular people looked up at the sky and felt afraid. President Kim sat at the head of the table in the emergency meeting room. His face showed no fear, but inside his heart beat fast. Around him, world leaders appeared on large screens, their faces showing worry and fear. "We need to stay calm," President Kim said. "We don't know what they want yet." General Han stood by the window looking up at the alien ship that hung over the city. "Sir, our weapons might not work against something that big. We should prepare for the worst." Before anyone could respond, every screen in the room changed. A face appeared, not human, but somewhat like an insect with large eyes and moving mouth parts. The being had a blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer under lights. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Supreme Delegate Taro of the Galactic Council. Your planet has been observed for centuries. The time has come to address your species directly." The room fell silent. President Kim straightened his back and faced the screen. "This is President Kim Ji-ho of the United Earth Alliance. We welcome peaceful contact with your people." The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Peace is one option, but the Council has concerns. Your species is too aggressive, too unpredictable. You fight among yourselves constantly. You develop weapons before you develop wisdom. The Council has decided that humanity must be controlled." General Han's eyes narrowed. He leaned close to President Kim and whispered, "Sir, notice how he holds himself. There's fear behind those words." President Kim nodded slightly. He had seen it too. The way the alien's eyes moved too quickly, the slight shake in its voice. "What exactly are you proposing?" President Kim asked. "You have 2 standard galactic cycles, about 14 of your months, to surrender your sovereignty. Earth will become a protected world under Council control. Your militaries will be disbanded. Your technology development will be supervised. This is not a request. It is the only way to avoid immediate military action." After the communication ended, the room exploded with voices. Some leaders wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender immediately. President Kim called for quiet. "We need time to think," he said. "We will talk with these aliens. We will try to get better terms. But we will also prepare in case talks fail." Over the next few days, the world changed. Alien representatives came down to Earth to meet with leaders. They set up a base in neutral territory, an artificial island in the Pacific Ocean. They showed some of their technology as proof of their power. It was far beyond anything humans had created, but not everyone was impressed. Dr. Park Sun-mi, a young astrophysicist from Seoul University, had been studying the alien ship's energy signatures. She requested an urgent meeting with President Kim and General Han. "The aliens' technology is advanced," she explained, showing them complex data on her tablet. "But it's not magic. They use principles we already understand, just in ways we haven't tried yet." "What are you saying, Doctor?" President Kim asked. "I'm saying their ships create wormholes by folding space in a single dimension. Our theories already suggest multiple dimensions could be folded simultaneously. Their weapons use plasma contained in magnetic fields, technology we've been developing for fusion power. They're ahead of us, yes, but maybe not as far as they want us to think." General Han smiled for the first time since the ships appeared. "So they can be beaten?" "Potentially," Dr. Park said. "But we'd need time, resources, and complete secrecy." President Kim thought for a long moment. "Then that's what you'll get." The plan began immediately. On the surface, Earth appeared to consider the Council's terms. Diplomatic teams met with alien representatives, asking for clarifications, requesting small concessions. They projected weakness and fear, playing into the Council's expectations. Meanwhile, underground facilities around the world ramped up production. The largest complex was built beneath the Korean peninsula, hidden deep where alien sensors couldn't detect the activity. Similar bases were constructed beneath the Himalayas and the American Rockies. Dr. Park led a team of the world's best scientists. They studied every piece of alien technology they could access, reverse-engineered what they could, and made improvements where possible. Their progress was remarkable. 3 months after first contact, Dr. Park called President Kim to the Korean facility. She took him through massive underground tunnels to a sealed door that required both their handprints to open. What I'm about to show you must remain absolutely secret, she said. If the council learns what we've done, they'll attack immediately. The door opened to reveal an enormous chamber. Inside was what looked like a half-built spaceship, but unlike any design humans had created before. Workers in protective suits moved around it, welding sections together, installing complex systems. This is the prototype, Dr. Park said with pride. We're calling it the Defiance. It incorporates everything we've learned from the Council's technology, but with our improvements. President Kim walked around the ship, amazed at its size and the strange glow coming from parts of its hull. Will it work? The simulations say yes. Their ships fold space in one dimension to travel faster than light. Ours will fold in 3 dimensions, making us faster and more maneuverable. Their shields use static energy fields. Ours pulse and adapt to attacks. Their weapons are powerful but predictable. Ours will be flexible and can be reconfigured during battle. How many can we build before the deadline? Dr. Park smiled. That's the best part. We've designed automated construction systems. Once the prototype is tested, we can build ships at a rate the Council would never believe possible. And we're hiding them on the far side of the moon, in underground bases on Mars and in the asteroid belt. For the next few months, humanity prepared in secret while pretending to submit to the Council. The alien observers saw exactly what they expected, a frightened species reluctantly accepting their fate. Council delegate Soren, assigned to monitor Earth's compliance, conducted regular inspections of military bases that were supposedly being shut down. During one such visit to a Siberian facility, he met Colonel Kang Do-hyun. Your cooperation makes this transition easier, Soren said, his insect-like mandibles clicking as he spoke. Many species fight to the bitter end, causing unnecessary suffering. Colonel Kang bowed slightly. We are a practical people. We recognize the futility of resistance against your superior forces. Soren studied the human's face. Your species has surrendered too easily. It contradicts all our historical data about human behavior. Perhaps we have simply evolved beyond our primitive instincts, Colonel Kang said with a small smile. The alien seemed satisfied with this explanation. He didn't request to see the lower levels of the base, where hundreds of pilots trained daily on simulators designed to match the controls of Earth's new warships. As the alien departed, Colonel Kang's smile faded. He touched the communication device in his ear. He's gone. Resume full operations. Below his feet, the massive underground hangar came back to life as engineers continued their work on weapons that would soon shock the galaxy. The deadline grew closer. On the surface, Earth continued diplomatic talks, asking for extensions, making small objections to certain terms. The Council interpreted this as the normal behavior of a defeated species trying to save face. They had no idea what was coming. 3 weeks passed quickly. On the moon base, Commander Yoon barely slept as he pushed his team to complete the fleet preparations. Chief Engineer Minna and her staff worked in shifts around the clock, finishing the weapon systems and running final tests on the shield generators. All essential systems are operational on the main fleet, Minna reported during the final briefing. Her face showed extreme tiredness but also pride. The ships aren't perfect yet, but they'll fight. Commander Yoon nodded. That will have to be enough. What's the final count? 342 vessels ready for immediate deployment, Minna said. Another 87 at 80% completion. The Mars shipyards report 156 vessels ready. Nearly 500 ships, Yoon said, staring at the fleet status display. It was far less than they had hoped for when planning a confrontation at the original deadline. But it would have to do. Is the Defiance ready? Minna smiled slightly. Yes. Admiral Lee has already moved her flag to the ship and is preparing to take command of the fleet. On Earth, final preparations were also underway. President Kim called an emergency meeting of the World Security Council. Representatives from every major nation gathered in a secure underground facility beneath Geneva. The council suspects something, President Kim told the assembled leaders. We can no longer wait until their deadline. We must act now before they discover the full extent of our preparations. General Han displayed the latest intelligence reports on the main screen. Council forces have been repositioning over the past week. They're moving additional ships into the solar system, hiding them behind Jupiter and in the outer asteroid belt. They're preparing for something. Do they know about our fleet? Asked the representative from Brazil. We don't think so, General Han replied. But they're suspicious. Delegate Soren has increased his inspection visits and has begun interviewing random citizens. It's only a matter of time before they discover one of our facilities. President Kim stood. Then we must act first. I propose we make our position clear to the Council immediately. No more pretending to comply with their demands. We tell them directly that Earth will not surrender its sovereignty. And if they attack, ask the representative from India. Then we reveal our fleet and defend ourselves, President Kim said firmly. The element of surprise is still on our side. They don't know what we've built or what we're capable of. The vote was unanimous. Earth would stand against the Galactic Council. 3 days later, President Kim addressed the Council directly via their communication system. The transmission was sent not just to the ships above Earth, but to the Council's central headquarters many light years away. Supreme Delegate Taro, President Kim began, his face showing calm determination. For the past months, humanity has considered your terms for Earth to join the Galactic Council. We have studied your proposals carefully. We have listened to your representatives, and we have reached our decision. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Earth rejects your terms. Humanity will not surrender its sovereignty to become a protected world under Council control. Instead, we propose a different arrangement, mutual recognition and peaceful coexistence. Earth would join the Council as an equal member, not as a subject world. On the Council homeworld, Supreme Delegate Taro watched the transmission with growing anger. Around him, other Council members murmured in surprise and outrage. Such arrogance, Taro exclaimed. They dare to dictate terms to us? Admiral Nexus, the military commander, stepped forward. I warned you they were not being honest in their compliance. Permission to deploy our fleet immediately? Taro nodded. Granted. Show these primitives the consequence of defiance. Back on Earth, President Kim received word that the Council fleet was on the move. Ships hidden behind Jupiter had begun to advance toward Earth. The response had come even faster than expected. They're deploying their full force, General Han reported. Over 2,000 vessels moving into attack formation. President Kim's expression remained calm. Send the signal to Admiral Lee. Operation Aegis is now active. Aboard the EDF Defiance, Admiral Lee Jin-ho received the coded message. She had been waiting for this moment, reviewing battle plans and preparing her crew. Now it was time. All ships, this is Admiral Lee, she announced over the fleet communication channel. Operation Aegis is now active. Prepare for immediate deployment. Lieutenant Nam Hyun-woo, the tactical officer, looked up from his console. Ma'am, sensors show Council forces approaching from the outer system. Their weapons are charged and shields are active. How long until they're in range of Earth? At their current speed, 4 hours, 17 minutes. Admiral Lee nodded. That gives us time to position our forces. Signal all ships, execute maneuver Theta. Deploy in 3 waves as planned. Throughout the hidden fleet, captains acknowledged the order, one by one. The ships powered up their engines and prepared to reveal themselves to the enemy. The Council fleet moved confidently toward Earth. Supreme Commander Nexus observed the approach from his flagship, the Dominant. His sensors showed no defensive preparations, no military response from the planet below. As expected, he said to his second-in-command, they made their brave speech, but they have no way to back it up. Once we destroy a few of their cities, they will surrender properly. Supreme Commander, called one of his sensor officers. We're detecting unusual energy readings near the human moon. Nexus frowned. What kind of readings? Unknown, sir. They appeared suddenly, similar to our fold space signatures, but different somehow. Before Nexus could respond, alarms sounded throughout the bridge. Multiple ships appearing, shouted the sensor officer. They're everywhere. The tactical display showed it clearly. Human vessels suddenly appearing alongside his forward fleet. They had somehow emerged from fold space directly into the midst of his formation, something that should have been impossible. Open fire, Nexus ordered. Destroy them immediately! But it was already too late. The human ships moved with incredible speed, their weapons firing with deadly precision. The first wave of Council ships began exploding without warning, their shields failing against weapons they had never encountered before. What is happening? Nexus demanded as communications from the forward fleet dissolved into chaos. Admiral Lee watched from the Defiance as the first engagement unfolded. Earth ships were performing even better than expected. Their triple-fold space drives allowed them to appear and disappear at will, striking and then moving before the Council vessels could effectively target them. First wave of Council ships is in disarray, reported Lieutenant Num. Their formation is breaking apart. 23 enemy vessels destroyed, 41 showing heavy damage. Good, Admiral Lee said. Now for Phase 2. Signal the second wave to begin their attack. Target their command vessels. And remember, disable rather than destroy where possible. We want prisoners. Lieutenant Num looked surprised. Ma'am, we have the advantage. Why show restraint? Admiral Lee's expression remained firm. Because we're going to show them exactly who they threatened. And when this is done, they'll understand that humanity could have destroyed them, but chose not to. The battle continued for hours. The Council fleet, despite its superior numbers, struggled to counter the human tactics. Earth ships appeared and disappeared too quickly for their targeting systems. Their shields, designed to block known weapons, failed against the adaptive energy pulses from human vessels. Aboard the Dominant, Supreme Commander Nexus watched in growing horror as his fleet was systematically taken apart. Ship after ship reported critical damage or went silent completely. Impossible, he muttered. They were primitives. How did they develop this technology so quickly? His second-in-command approached cautiously. Sir, we've lost contact with the entire forward fleet. 300 ships gone or disabled. Our center is under heavy attack. I recommend we withdraw to regroup. Nexus slammed his fist on the command console. No, I will not retreat from primitives. Sir, the officer insisted, our intelligence was wrong. Their technology matches or exceeds ours in several key areas. If we continue, we risk losing the entire... His words were cut short as the ship shook violently. Emergency alarms blared throughout the bridge. Direct hit to our primary shield generator, reported a damage control officer. Shields down to 20% capacity. Secondary systems failing. Another impact rocked the ship. Enemy vessel approaching, called the sensor officer. It's huge. Bigger than anything they've deployed so far. On the main screen, Nexus saw it. A massive human warship moving steadily toward his position. Unlike the smaller vessels that had been darting in and out of the battle, this one came straight on, brushing aside attacks from his remaining ships as if they were nothing. The EDF Sovereign, said a voice over the communication system. Flagship of Earth's Second Fleet. This is Fleet Admiral Jong Yunji. Your forces are defeated, Supreme Commander Nexus. Surrender your vessel. Nexus stared at the screen in disbelief. How do you know my name? We know much about you and the Council, Admiral Jong replied calmly. Far more than you realized. Your ship is disabled. Your fleet is in retreat. You have 1 minute to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Nexus looked around his bridge. Smoke filled the air as damaged systems sparked and failed. 6 months had passed since the alien ships first appeared above Earth. The world had changed. Council observers walked freely through major cities. Their ships still hung in the sky, a constant reminder of their power. To anyone watching, it seemed that humanity had accepted its fate. The Council's main representative, Delegate Soren, filed regular reports back to his superiors. The humans continue to comply with all major requirements, he reported. Military forces are being disbanded according to schedule. Weapon systems are being deactivated. There have been some protests, but their governments have controlled these effectively. Supreme Delegate Taro seemed pleased with the reports. Excellent. This transition is proceeding more smoothly than anticipated. Perhaps we overestimated this species, but not everyone on the Council was convinced. Admiral Nexus, the military leader of the Council forces, had studied human history extensively. I don't trust this compliance, he said during a private meeting. Humans have never surrendered so easily in their past conflicts. Something doesn't feel right. Your concerns are noted, Taro replied dismissively, but our observers see nothing unusual. The deadline will arrive in 8 months, and Earth will formally join the Council as a protected world. The matter is nearly resolved. What the Council didn't know, what their sensors couldn't detect, was what was happening on the far side of the moon. Commander, Yoon Jae-wook stood at the observation window of the lunar base, watching as construction drones swarmed around the growing fleet of Earth ships. The sight still amazed him. 3 months ago, there had been only one prototype vessel. Now there were dozens, with more being completed every week. Commander, you're needed in control, a voice said over the communication system. Yoon made his way through the base's corridors, nodding to the engineers and technicians who worked around the clock. The base had been expanded rapidly. with living quarters for over 5,000 personnel now built into the lunar rock. In the control center, Chief Engineer Choi Min-ah waited for him. Her eyes showed exhaustion but also excitement. On the main screen was an image of Earth's first completed warship, the EDF Defiance, floating in space against the backdrop of stars. "The shield generators are finally online," she reported. "We've been running tests for the past 12 hours. And?" Yoon asked, studying the data scrolling across secondary screens. Min-ah smiled. "We've improved the efficiency by 340% compared to the Council design. They use a linear approach to energy distribution. We're using quantum entanglement to create a multi-layered defense. Will it hold against their weapons? Our simulations suggest it will not only hold, it will adapt to repeated attacks of the same type, becoming stronger each time." Yoon nodded, impressed. "And the drive systems?" "Even better than we hoped," Min-ah replied. She brought up a new display showing complex physics equations and test results. "The Council's ships use a single dimension of spacetime folding for their faster-than-light travel. We've successfully implemented a triple-fold method. What does that mean in practical terms? It means we're faster, more maneuverable, and we can appear and disappear from normal space with greater precision. In simple terms, they'll never see us coming and they can't catch us if we need to retreat." Yoon walked closer to the screen, studying the ship they had created. The Defiance didn't look like traditional human spacecraft designs. It had a streamlined shape with sections that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. Its hull was made of a new alloy developed by combining earth metals with principles observed in Council technology. "What about weapon systems?" he asked. "We've installed the plasma cannons as designed. But we've also added something the Council doesn't have: adaptive targeting systems that learn during combat. The longer a battle goes on, the more accurate our weapons become." Yoon turned to face the room full of engineers and technicians. "You've all done extraordinary work. When I was first assigned to this project, I thought it would take years to catch up to Council technology. You've done it in months." One of the younger engineers raised his hand. "Sir, when will the fleet be ready for action?" Yoon's expression grew more serious. "That decision will come from Earth Command. Our job is to make sure every ship is as perfect as possible before then." He turned back to Min-ah. "How many vessels will be complete by the deadline?" Min-ah checked her tablet. "At current production rates, we'll have over 500 ships ready. The automated construction systems are getting faster as they learn. And that's just here. The Mars base reports similar progress. And the Council suspects nothing. The Moon blocks their sensors from detecting this side. And we've developed shielding technology that hides our activities on Mars and in the asteroid belt. As far as they know, we're a beaten species waiting to surrender. Back on Earth, Colonel Kang Do-hyun prepared for another inspection visit from Delegate Soren. The Siberian facility had been carefully prepared. What had once been a missile silo now appeared to be in the process of being converted into a scientific research center. Workers moved equipment under the watchful eyes of Council observers. On the surface, everything looked normal, but beneath their feet, the massive underground complex continued to operate at full capacity, training pilots and soldiers for the coming conflict. Soren arrived with his usual entourage of security drones, floating spheres that scanned everything around them. Kang greeted him with a respectful bow. "Welcome back, Delegate. We have completed the conversion of the West Wing as requested." Soren's insect-like eyes studied the human carefully. "You continue to impress me with your efficiency, Colonel. Many species resist these changes until the very end." "We are practical people," Kang replied, the same answer he always gave. They walked through the facility, with Kang pointing out various changes that had been made to comply with Council directives. Soren seemed satisfied but then paused near an elevator. "Where does this lead?" he asked. Kang kept his expression neutral despite his sudden concern. That elevator led directly to the underground hangar. "Storage areas. Would you like to see?" For a moment he thought the alien would say yes. If that happened, the entire operation would be compromised. But after a pause, Soren shook his head. "That won't be necessary. However, I would like to speak with some of your personnel. Privately." This was new. Kang nodded slowly. "Of course. Who would you like to speak with?" "Select 3 individuals at random. Junior personnel, not leadership." Kang used his communication device to request 3 staff members to join them in the conference room. He chose people who had been thoroughly briefed on what to say, but who wouldn't appear too rehearsed. While they waited, Soren asked, "Tell me, Colonel, what is the general mood among your people about the coming transition?" "Most have accepted it," Kang replied carefully. "There are some who resist change, as in any population, but they are a small minority." "Interesting. Our historical analysis of human behavior predicted much more resistance. Your species has always valued its independence highly. Perhaps we have evolved," Kang suggested. "Or perhaps we recognize when resistance would be futile." The staff members arrived, a maintenance technician, a communications specialist, and a medical officer. Soren insisted on speaking with each one alone. Kang waited outside, tense but outwardly calm. After an hour, Soren emerged from the final interview. His expression was unreadable to human eyes. "Thank you for your cooperation, Colonel. I will be submitting my report to the Council today." After the alien left, Kang immediately called a secure line to President Kim's office. "Sir, something has changed." Soren conducted private interviews with staff members today. He's never done that before. President Kim's voice came through, sounding concerned. "Do you think he suspects?" "I'm not sure, but I recommend we accelerate the timeline. If they're starting to question our compliance, we may have less time than we thought." President Kim was silent for a moment. "I'll discuss it with the Joint Command. Be ready for new orders within 24 hours. That night, in bases around the world, military commanders received encrypted messages. Operation Aegis was being moved forward. The planned revealing of Earth's true intentions would happen not in 8 months, but in 1. On the lunar base, Commander Yoon received the new orders with a mixture of concern and determination. He immediately called a meeting with his senior staff. "We need to be ready 3 weeks from today," he announced to the stunned room. "All ships must be operational by then." Minna looked shocked. "Commander, that's barely enough time to complete the final testing on the weapon systems." "Then we work around the clock," Yoon replied firmly. "Earth Command believes the Council is growing suspicious. If they discover what we're doing, they'll attack immediately. We need to strike first." As the meeting ended, Yoon looked through the viewport at the fleet taking shape in the lunar shadow. The sleek ships represented humanity's best hope. But would they be enough against an enemy that had conquered hundreds of worlds? Only time would tell. And time was running out. The day the Council launched its full-scale invasion of the solar system would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the day of revelation. 3,000 Council warships, the largest armada ever assembled, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system. Aboard the Council command ship, Ultimatum, Commander Vex addressed his fleet. "Today we end the human rebellion. Their unexpected victory was a fluke, a temporary setback. Now they face the full might of the Galactic Council." He ordered a transmission sent to Earth. On screens across the planet, his insect-like face appeared with a final warning: "Surrender immediately or face extinction." For 3 hours, there was no response from Earth. The Council fleet advanced slowly, weapons charged and shields at maximum power. They moved past the outer planets, past the asteroid belt, approaching the orbit of Mars. Commander Vex grew increasingly confident. "Still no sign of their fleet," reported his sensor officer. "Perhaps they've fled." "More likely hiding," Vex replied. "Maintain full sensor sweeps. They'll try to surprise us as they did before." But as the Council fleet reached the orbit of Mars, their sensors detected movement, massive energy signatures appearing throughout the system. From behind planets and moons, from the sun's corona, from seemingly empty space, Earth's true fleet revealed itself. Not hundreds of ships, but thousands. Vessels of designs the Council had never encountered, each incorporating technology that reflected humanity's unique perspective. On the principles they had learned. "Impossible," whispered Vex as the tactical display showed human warships, outnumbering his fleet 3 to 1. They couldn't have built this many. The truth dawned too late. Humanity hadn't just been building ships. They had been revolutionizing how ships were built, creating automated construction systems that worked at speeds the Council had never imagined possible. At the center of Earth's formation, 20 massive vessels moved forward, the Phoenix-class battleships, each one larger than anything the Council had ever built. At their head flew the EDF Sovereign, flagship of the fleet, under the command of Admiral Jong Eun-ji. "Open a channel to the entire Council fleet," Admiral Jong ordered. Lieutenant Park, her communications officer, nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Zhang took a deep breath. This moment would define humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come. Council Fleet. This is Fleet Admiral Zhang Yunji of Earth Defense Force. You have entered sovereign human space with hostile intent. We offer you one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. On the ultimatum's bridge, Commander Vex received the transmission with growing rage. "They dare to dictate terms to us? Open fire! All ships attack Formation Delta." The Council fleet surged forward, energy weapons blazing. But Earth ships were ready. Their adaptive shields absorbed the first wave of attacks without difficulty. Then, with precision that shocked the Council commanders, the human fleet executed a complex series of maneuvers, splitting into smaller groups that encircled portions of the Council formation. "They're trying to divide us," Vex realized, too late. "Counter-maneuver immediately!" But the Council ships, trained to fight as a single coordinated unit, struggled to adapt to the human tactics. Earth vessels struck from multiple directions simultaneously, their weapons targeting shield generators and propulsion systems, rather than trying for outright destruction. Aboard the Sovereign, Admiral Zhang watched the battle unfold with intense focus. "First phase is working," reported her tactical officer. "Enemy formation is breaking up." "Good," Zhang nodded. "Signal the Phoenix Squadron to move to Phase 2. The 20 battleships moved in perfect coordination, their massive form somehow graceful despite their size. They positioned themselves around the largest concentration of Council ships, including Commander Vex's flagship. "What are they doing?" Vex demanded, watching the huge ships surround his position but not yet firing. His answer came moments later when the Phoenix ships activated their most secret weapon. From each vessel, a wave of energy spread outward, not destructive but disruptive. Council ships caught in the field suddenly lost power, their systems shutting down one by one. "Emergency power only," shouted Vex as the ultimatum's lights flickered and died. "Get our weapons back online!" But the energy field had done its work. Nearly a third of the Council fleet drifted powerless in space, unable to fight or flee. Admiral Zhang opened a channel again. "Commander Vex, your situation is hopeless. Your ships are disabled or outmatched. I again offer you the chance to surrender." Vex slammed his fist on his command console. "Never. The Council does not surrender to primitives." "Very well," Zhang replied calmly. "Lieutenant Park, signal all ships. Execute final phase." What happened next would be studied in military academies throughout the galaxy for centuries. Earth's fleet executed a series of maneuvers so complex and precise that they seemed impossible. Ships appeared to be in multiple places at once, using their advanced fold space drives to confuse and disorient the Council forces. Meanwhile, the Phoenix battleships began systematically capturing disabled Council vessels, extending docking tubes and sending boarding parties to secure the ships without unnecessary bloodshed. On the ultimatum, Commander Vex received increasingly desperate reports from his remaining forces. "Fourth battle group has surrendered," reported his communications officer. "Seventh group surrounded and taking heavy damage." "Our starboard shields are failing," added his defensive systems officer. "We can't maintain this fight much longer, sir." For the first time, doubt crept into Vex's mind. How had it come to this? The Council had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They had subjugated hundreds of species. How could humans, who had only achieved space travel a few centuries ago, now hold the upper hand? His thoughts were interrupted by a violent impact that shook the entire ship. "Direct hit to our main power core," shouted his engineer. "We're losing all systems." The ultimatum drifted helplessly in space as its engines died and its weapons went silent. Through the bridge viewport, Vex could see the EDF Sovereign moving into position alongside his ship, dwarfing the once mighty Council vessel. "Commander Vex," came Admiral Zhang's voice over the emergency communication system. "Your ship is disabled. Your fleet is defeated. This conflict is over." With bitter resignation, Vex gave the order he never thought he would give. "All Council forces stand down. Power down weapons. Prepare to be boarded." Throughout the solar system, Council ships surrendered. Some tried to flee, but Earth vessels easily overtook them using their superior fold space drives. Within hours, the battle was over. The greatest fleet the Council had ever assembled had been decisively defeated. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. But in the chambers of world leadership, the mood was more somber and thoughtful. "We've won the war," President Kim told his advisors, Now we must win the peace. 2 weeks later, representatives from Earth traveled to neutral space for a historic meeting. The Treaty of Luna would establish a new relationship between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. The meeting took place aboard a specially constructed space station in lunar orbit. The Great Hall had been designed to accommodate delegates from dozens of species, with environmental sections suited to different atmospheric needs. Admiral Zhong and President Kim watched as the delegates filed in. Supreme Delegate Taro led the council representatives, his once proud bearing now more subdued. Behind him came leaders from many species who had lived under council rule, including the Viridian elder who had first met with Ambassador Song. "They never understood us," General Han said quietly, standing beside President Kim. "They thought our greatest strength was our aggression." President Kim nodded. "When in truth it was always our creativity, our refusal to accept limitations, and our capacity to show mercy when victory is assured," added Admiral Zhong. That, perhaps, surprised them most of all. The treaty that emerged from the conference changed the galaxy forever. The council was reformed, its power distributed more evenly among member species. Earth joined not as a subject world but as an equal partner. Human technology would be shared with other worlds, while Earth would benefit from the knowledge accumulated by older civilizations. Most importantly, all species were guaranteed the right to self-determination. The days of forced protection were over. As the signing ceremony concluded, Supreme Delegate Taro approached President Kim privately. "I must ask," he said, his voice quieter than usual. "How did your species advance so quickly? We have studied thousands of civilizations and none have ever made such progress in so short a time." President Kim smiled slightly. "Perhaps you are looking at the wrong metrics. You measured our technology, our weapons, our resources, but you never truly understood our greatest asset." "Which is?" Taro asked. "Our diversity of thought," Kim replied. "When faced with a problem, we don't seek one perfect solution. We explore hundreds of possibilities simultaneously. We debate, we argue, we approach challenges from countless angles. What you saw as chaos and unpredictability was actually our greatest strength." Taro considered this for a moment. An interesting perspective. Perhaps there is much our peoples can learn from each other after all. "That," said President Kim, "is exactly what we're counting on." In the months that followed, the galaxy entered a new era. News of humanity's victory spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. On the council homeworld of Axtaris, the ruling members gathered in an emergency session. The great circular chamber, designed to show the council's unity and strength, now buzzed with angry voices and accusations. "You assured us these humans were primitive," shouted Representative Kex of the Trivarian Confederation, pointing a clawed finger at Supreme Delegate Taro. "Instead, they've humiliated our finest fleet." Taro struggled to maintain order. "This was merely one engagement. Our combined forces will crush this rebellion." "How?" demanded another council member. "Reports say the humans have technology equal to ours, perhaps superior in some ways." "How is this possible?" Taro had no good answer. The rapid development of human technology defied all previous patterns the council had observed when dealing with new species. "Supreme Delegate," called a voice from the entrance to the chamber. All eyes turned to see Moda, the council's chief researcher, hurrying toward them with a data tablet in her hands. "I've completed my initial analysis of the captured human technology," she announced. "You all need to see this immediately." The main display in the chamber activated, showing detailed scans of human ships and weapons systems. "Their approach is fundamentally different from ours," Moda explained, highlighting various sections of the display. "Where we perfected singular paths of technological development, they pursue multiple solutions simultaneously. Their ships combine technologies that we would consider incompatible." "What does this mean in practical terms?" asked Taro. "It means they adapt, they improvise." "It's chaotic but effective," Moda replied. "For example, their shield technology. We use consistent energy fields tuned to specific frequencies. They use pulses that constantly change pattern, making them harder to penetrate with sustained attacks." The council members murmured among themselves, clearly disturbed by this information. "There's more," Moda continued. "The prisoners we captured have revealed something concerning. The humans didn't just reverse engineer our technology, they improved it. Their fold space drives operate on principles our scientists theorized but never successfully implemented. Taro's face darkened with anger. Are you saying these primitives have surpassed us? Not in all areas, Moda clarified. But their approach to innovation is different, less constrained by tradition, more willing to take risks. As the council debated what to do, doubt spread through their empire. Species that had long lived under council rule began questioning their leaders' decisions. Many had joined the council not by choice, but through similar ultimatums to what Earth had received. One such species was the Viridians, a peaceful race known for their biotechnology. They had been under council protection for over 12 generations, providing medical advances while having no say in council decisions. When Dr. Song Ji-won, Earth's newly appointed ambassador to Galactic Affairs, reached out to the Viridians, they agreed to a secret meeting on a neutral moon in a distant star system. Ambassador Song traveled aboard the EDF Harmony, a diplomatic vessel that combined the new human technology with comfortable meeting spaces designed to put alien visitors at ease. When they reached the meeting point, a small Viridian ship was waiting. The Viridian elder who came aboard was tall and slender, with pale green skin and large, expressive eyes. Ambassador Song greeted him with a respectful bow. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with us," she said. "Earth hopes to establish peaceful relations with all species, independent of council oversight." The elder studied her carefully. "We have lived under council protection for 12 generations," he said, "but we have never been permitted to determine our own destiny. Your victory has caused much discussion among my people. Perhaps it is time for change." This meeting was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, Earth representatives made contact with many species who had been subjugated by the Council. Some were cautious, fearing Council reprisal. Others were eager to support any force that challenged Council authority. Meanwhile, Council forces regrouped. Supreme Commander Nexus had been replaced by Commander Vex, who had orders to crush the human rebellion at any cost. "We will concentrate all our forces," Vex declared during a strategy meeting. "We will obliterate Earth and make an example of humanity that will silence dissent for millennia." What he didn't realize was that his communications had been compromised months ago. Every plan, every deployment order was known to Earth's military leadership before his own captains received them. Colonel Kang, whose Siberian base was now operating openly as a military command center, received the intercepted communications and immediately forwarded them to Admiral Zhang. "They're planning a massive attack," he reported during an emergency meeting of Earth's Joint Military Command. Over 3,000 warships from across their empire, gathering to strike at Earth directly. Admiral Zhang nodded calmly. "As we expected. When will they be ready?" "Based on the intercepts, they'll attack in approximately 3 weeks. They're calling it the final solution to the human problem." General Han, who had been promoted to oversee all of Earth's ground defenses, looked concerned. "Will our fleet be ready? We lost 47 ships in the first engagement." Admiral Lee, who had joined the meeting via secure link from the Defiance, answered, "We're more than ready. The automated shipyards have been working at full capacity. We've replaced our losses and added over 200 new vessels. The Martian shipyards report similar progress. And we've made improvements based on what we learned in the first battle," added Commander Yoon from the lunar base. "Our shields are stronger, our weapons more efficient." President Kim, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke. "We need to consider our next steps carefully. The Council still doesn't know our full capabilities. We could wait for their attack, meet them head-on with our expanded fleet. Or we could take a more proactive approach." "What are you suggesting, Mr. President?" asked Admiral Zhang. "I'm suggesting we show the Council and the rest of the galaxy exactly what humanity is capable of, not just in terms of military power, but in our capacity for both justice and mercy." The plan that emerged from that meeting was bold. Rather than waiting for the Council attack, Earth would send ships to key worlds throughout Council space, not to attack, but to observe and gather intelligence. More importantly, they would make contact with subjugated species, offering them a choice they had never had before: freedom from Council control. Dr. Park Sun-mi, who had been essential in developing Earth's new technology, volunteered to lead a scientific mission to study Council worlds directly. "Their technology is still ahead of ours in some areas," she explained, particularly in biological sciences and planetary engineering. If we can learn from them while demonstrating our own innovations, we might find a path to peaceful coexistence. For the next 2 weeks, Earth ships traveled throughout Council space, appearing suddenly near important worlds, scanning and observing, then disappearing before Council forces could respond. They were not attacking, not yet, but the psychological impact was devastating. The Council, which had always projected an image of complete control, now seemed powerless to prevent human ships from coming and going as they pleased. On the Council homeworld, panic spread. Council members who had initially dismissed the human victory as a lucky accident now demanded action. "They're appearing everywhere," exclaimed Representative Kex during another emergency session. "My homeworld reported 3 human vessels in orbit yesterday. They scanned our defenses and disappeared before our ships could even power up their weapons." Supreme Delegate Taro struggled to maintain order. "We are gathering our forces. Commander Vex assures me that the attack on Earth will proceed as planned. Once their homeworld is destroyed, these raiding parties will have nowhere to return to." "And if they have hidden bases on other worlds?" asked another council member. "What if they've already established alliances with some of our protected species? The Viridians have stopped responding to council communications." Doubt had taken root. The once unified council was fracturing under pressure. Meanwhile, on the Viridian homeworld, Ambassador Song met with their ruling council. Unlike the hierarchical Galactic Council, the Viridians made decisions through consensus, with representatives from all their major communities. "We have considered your proposal carefully," the head elder told her. "The council has ruled us for generations. They have taken our medical discoveries while giving us little in return. We are ready for change." "Earth doesn't seek to replace the council as your ruler," Ambassador Song clarified. "We propose an alliance of equals, each species sovereign over its own affairs, working together for mutual benefit." The elder nodded. "This concept appeals to us, but we fear council reprisal if we openly defy them." "That's why we're here," Song replied with a confident smile. "The EDF Harmony isn't just a diplomatic vessel. It has the same advanced technology as our warships. We can protect your world while you consider your options." This scene repeated across dozens of worlds. Earth representatives offered protection, technology sharing, and true partnership instead of the subjugation the Council had imposed. Many species were hesitant, but the more they learned about how Earth had developed so quickly, the more interested they became.